this computer, and then we'll get, because, okay, so share. Okay, now, so basically, might as well do it now. So here, okay, first of all, guys, I hope you have your file open. I hope you're at level 114, okay? I'm at 114 right now, so please open your file and go to level 114 because we're gonna be putting the structure at that level. But just so that I can finish off with, okay? So here we go. So this is where you went, okay? Virgil, view range, okay? You see how the bottom's grayed out here, Virgil?
Yep.
Okay, so that makes it very difficult. Okay, that makes it very difficult for you to be able to actually totally adjust your view range. If that wasn't grayed out, what you can do is you can pick your lower level, you can pick your upper level, you can even have an offset from that lower level, understand? And that's where the problem is with this template, because this is grayed out. You follow? In theory, this shouldn't be grayed out. You should be able to pick, for example, here, understand? And normally in here, you should have all your levels. All the levels that you created should be in here, and they're not.
Yeah.
You follow what I'm saying? And that's what the problem was, okay? So right now, this is the top associated level, okay? So in other words, they consider this to be the top. Now the offset here is a positive one, so therefore you're going 3 feet above. So you're going up to level 1117 above, okay? And then you're going about 4 feet below. So what that means is that anything in your model that goes through that plane is going to be shown as cut lines, okay? And then the depth of view, okay? The depth of view. So what I did is that since this was grayed out and I can't play with it, I just put, okay, forget about this. So what I did is I came here, okay? And this is where, see the, okay, you see where here, the underlay and overlay? This is where I adjusted, okay? In other words, I can say the base level can go down to 102. The top level goes, and then I can decide whether I want to look up and down. So this is how I adjust what I want to see in my view, Virgil, right here. See the underlay?
Yeah, you press on level 114, right?
In other words,
on
this
bond.
applies to every level, you understand? So,
Okay.
so you see now look at here. This is what I see. Now because I adjusted this, I see the perimeter here. You understand? You see that?
Yeah.
Now, if I put none back, apply, and of course that's gone. So that's if I want, instead of playing with the view range, if it's grayed out, I'll play with the underlays. And then I'll decide whether I want to look up or whether I want to look down. You understand? And that's how I overcome that problem with the view range.
Okay.
Like I said, if ever you're using Revit, don't use the structural template. Use the construction template. Maybe you won't have all these little defaults with it. You understand?
All right. All right. Okay, cool.
Fair enough. Okay, so like I apologize. I'm not the one that wrote the program. I'm not the one that wrote the algorithms. But I'm telling you, I would love one day if a Revit representative would come to Montreal and they have a meeting about Revit, I would go, you understand? And I would just have my list of why, understand? And say, and why don't you fix it? Why don't you fix it? Why don't you fix it? Because I think they're still in the, you understand, trying to clear up all the glitches that this program has. And I mean, trust me, I started using this program about 8 years ago. It has it has done a lot of improvement, but it hasn't worked out all the bugs yet. And there's still a few bugs that they need to work out. And maybe it's the template that I'm using, the structural template. Maybe, like if I would have taken the architectural template, maybe it doesn't have these issues. And next time I'm going to try the construction template, because I tried putting in the stairs with the construction template, it works fine. So maybe it's the template itself that they haven't had a chance to come around and fix up. Okay, so like I said,
Thank you.
You're welcome. And sorry. And like I said, best thing to do, guys, if ever you're going to start another model for yourself, don't take the structural template, take the construction template and start from there. Okay, I think you'll probably save yourself a little bit, a bit of anguish. You understand? Okay, So let me know, guys. Is everybody seeing on their screen what I'm showing? I see right now on my screen.
Yep.
Okay, everybody else? Yeah, okay. So we all see that. Okay, so now first thing I want to do here, okay, first thing I want to do here, okay, is I want to adjust all these grid lines, because you know that with steel structures, you don't want the grid lines to be underneath your structure so that you can be clear. So the first thing I want to do is, of course, I want to adjust all these grid lines with a gap. Okay, so I'm going to pick one, right? And then I'm going to make, and you guys should remember how to do this, okay? Bubble with a gap. Now, leave that gap there, or if you want, you can make it lower. Bring this gap all the way down to 0. And like do the same thing here. Bubble with a gap and bring this one down to 0, because you don't want to see that on that side. Okay, so adjust all your grid lines with bubble with a gap. Okay, so this way we'll clear this up. I mean, the grid lines are still there. It's just that graphically, you won't see them underneath your steel structure, and that's what you want. Okay, so just go to your properties, bubble with a gap, and clean up all your grid lines. So this way, this first thing we should do. Okay. And of course, this one here, bubble with a gap. So clear up all your grid lines, so this way they won't be underneath, and when you plot your drawing, it's going to be nice and clean. Okay, let's clean this one up. And like I said, even though the little dot is there, don't worry about it. Okay, so now we've cleaned up everything. Now, of course, you know that the grid is always there. It's just that we made it invisible. Okay, now, the other thing is that look at the bottom of your screen and see what scale your view is at. Okay, always, that's the first thing you have to kind of think about when you're working with Revit. If I'm going to be making a drawing with this view, at what scale will I be actually dragging it onto the sheet so that I will eventually make a hard copy? And the reason why you should think about that at the offset is because Revit will adjust all the annotation, all the printing, everything, even the leaders to that particular scale. So the first thing you should always worry about is making sure that if you know that you're going to be dragging this in at 1/8 of an inch is equal to a foot, then right away, set your view at that scale, okay? Then of course, the other thing you should worry about, okay, is when you drag this on your sheet, you want to be able to make sure that you can crop your view so that you can, it's more manageable when you drag it on the sheet. So these are little things that you do at the very beginning. So for example, right now, this would be the size of the view that I would drag, and it would be way too big, so I wouldn't be able to see on the page. So once I click on it, I will drag it down, and I will drag this over. So in other words, I will start adjusting what I'm going to drag onto my sheet, so that I don't have to, I'll have less problems placing it, and I'll have play around with it even less than I had to. And of course, that's, you should leave yourself some room. And, I think that's a nice size. Now, if this is not long enough, you can bring it down a bit, but you should crop your view so they're like, as you know, when you're dragging onto your sheet, it'll be easier to manage and place on your sheet, and then you'll have less of a thing to move around. So that's little things you should think about doing at the offset, so that when you're eventually going to take this view and drag it onto your sheet, it'll be a little bit more manageable. And of course, if you don't, you can leave this on right now so that you'll know. For example, if you're putting something in this view, if you happen to go outside this perimeter, then you won't be able to drag it onto your sheet because it's going to be outside of the view range. So therefore, leave it on. And then at the very end, when you're ready to drag your view, you can simply right-click and put, hide in view, and you can hide the whole thing. So leave it on for now, and then right before we drag it on, you can hide it in view, or you can simply, okay. Okay, so now that we've adjusted everything that we want to adjust so that we'll have less of a trouble when we drag it onto a sheet, well, what we want to do is, of course, we want to start placing the columns, okay? And then once we place the columns, then we're going to place the beams. And then once we place the beams, we're going to place all the open web steel joists. And then once we place the open web steel joists, then we're going to start annotating everything and we'll start putting the dimensions down and everything. So now, as far as the, I don't know if you guys have the assignment sheet with you, if it's accessible. So now, as far as the beams go, well, if you're going to go to structures, okay, the structural tab, and you go to beams, okay. Oh yeah, you got to pick a working plane. We're going to be working with level 1400, okay. Okay, so that's my working plane. So as far as the steel beams go, well, these are the ones that are here, okay. Now, for some reason, I have some here. Now, if you guys don't have these, and if they don't correspond to what we need, then we're going to have to go load our beams, okay? So what we're going to do, and of course, these are all CISC. CISC stands for the Canadian Institute of Steel Construction. And those are the ones that we're going to be using because we are definitely doing our steel structure in Canada. So if we don't have the size of the, sorry, not the beams, of the columns. Sorry, and guys, even though they're the same, sorry, I'm going to go to columns, okay? And of course, I'm going to go to steel columns. And these are the only three steel columns that I have here, okay? Sorry, I was thinking of beams. So these, therefore, I'm going to have to go and load from the library the shapes that I want to actually insert into my model. So of course, I go to, let me move this over here. Okay, so I'm going to go to load family. So if you guys go to, okay, load family, right? You're in Canada right now, okay? And if you go to, so is everybody here?
How did you get there, sir?
Okay, like right here, okay, you can do two things. Go to the Insert tab. Go to the Insert tab. Sounds good?
Yeah.
And at the Insert tab, you have right here, you have Load Family.
Okay.
You got that? So click there. And if you don't have Canada here, you're going to have to go up and see if you can find Canada as one of the menu, as one of the folders, you understand? Because this just keeps going up, you understand? This is Revit, you understand? And of course, this is libraries, and that's where I have my libraries, okay? So Revit, okay, so that's the path that Revit follows, and I go to Canada. Do you have Canada in yours?
I don't even have Canada.
What do you have?
I have US Imperial Generic US Metric. Metric, yeah.
Okay, because I don't have US metric. Maybe you'll maybe no, I don't think you'll find it under US metric. Well, try, in your case, open up US metric, okay, and maybe you can find the profiles there, okay? So try US metric and we might be able to find something very similar and just use those. So, okay.
Okay.
Okay, so just use those, it doesn't matter. Then I'll realize that you have, you don't have the same family. So here we go to Canada, okay? Now, of course, we want, now, even though the W shapes are the same, whether they're for beams or for columns, well, Revit is very particular, okay? So we want to have structural columns. You make sure you go to the structural columns folder. And then, of course, you're going to go to steel. And now this is where you have all the Canadian Institute of Steel Construction shapes, okay? So you open this file. So here, of course, are all the different shapes. You have HP, HSSs, 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 miscellaneous, and so on. What you want to go to is you want to go to the wide flange shapes. Okay, wide, because it's the W shapes that we have. You want to go to the wide flange shapes. So these are all the HSS shapes that you would find, just so you guys can appreciate what's happening. This is the handbook of the Canadian Steel Institute, and all the shapes that are in this book, they're already downloaded into the program, okay? So that's what you're gonna go get. And so you want to go get the wide flange. Now, here, what you can do is, like, for example, you can, so if you look,
Excuse me, sir.
yes.
If I don't have the Canadian thing,
You don't have the Canadian one?
I have the AISC only.
Which one do you have?
AISC.
AISC. The American Institute of Steel Construction.
Yeah,
You have the metric ones?
think so, yeah.
Okay, go to the metric ones. You might be able to find something very similar. Understand?
Okay, yeah.
So try the metric ones, and like I said, like if we were at school, we wouldn't have this problem because we'd all have the same libraries, you understand? But because you guys you all downloaded Revit with different libraries, you don't have all the same libraries. And unfortunately, I showed you how to go download a library. If you go back to the Autodesk, you can actually download the Canadian library, okay, if you want to have it in your program or in your software. And that's why I was thinking about making a template for the exam. So this way, whoever doesn't have the library, it's already going to be in that file. You won't have to worry about it, okay? So I'll overcome that glitch. Okay, so if you go down, okay, now if you look at the drawing, we have some columns that are W200 by 31. So W means it's a wide flange. 200 means that it has a nominal depth of about 200 millimeters or 20 centimeters. They put information centimeters. So, and then I also have some that are 200 by 52. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down, and it starts from the biggest possible W shape. And so I'm going to go down and look for 200. Now, W200, keep going down, keep going, keep panning down. 300, 250, I'm getting there. 200, okay, so I have some 52s. So I'm going to take W200 by 52. Fair enough, I'm going to pick that one. And I also have some W200 by 31. So I'm going to pan down until I see 31. I'm going to hit the control button and hit the 31. So this way I can load both of them at the same time into my file, okay? So by holding the control button, you can pick as many as you want, okay? But pick the ones that you're going to be using. So we only have a W200 by 31, I believe. And the other ones are W200 by 52. Now, of course, we'll have to come back and load the HSSs, but at least we'll have the ones that are going around the perimeter. So I press OK. Okay, override the existing version, yes, okay. So now that I've downloaded the type in my family, I can go back to structures, okay, and I can go back to columns. I can go back to steel columns. And of course, if I go back to the steel columns, there's my W200 by 31, okay. Now I have it loaded into this file. Now, what I want to do is, unfortunately, these menus are all in my way. I want to place these things on a grid. So therefore, I'm going to put, okay. Sorry, let me go back to your columns. Okay, now, so basically, okay, I have a W200 by 31, okay. Now, that's the material and everything else, okay. And, what the hell is happening here? Something's not working, sorry guys. So now it's going to be placed at, wait a second, placing columns. I can't seem to find, I'm going down, that's good. Now, for some reason, I'm not getting, hold on a second, guys. I'm not getting that. I want to place it on the grid. I want to see what's happening here. I apologize for this. One of those days, you know, good old escape. My thing is W200 by 31. Okay. Structures, columns, W200 by 31. These menus keep popping down. Top constraint, none, none. Sorry guys, I'm having problems with this stupid. I'm there. I apologize. Columns. W200 by 31. Okay. Okay, so here we go. Okay, there, it finally popped up. Okay. So now I want to place these. I don't know if you guys have this. I have it at the grid lines here. Okay. At the grid lines. Okay. And of course, now you're going to want to place them on grid line A. Okay. Now you hold down the control button and you pick axis 1, axis 2, axis 3, axis 4, axis 5, and also they're all on the D one here. Okay. And if you're happy with this, okay, you simply press the finish. And there you go. So now escape. So there's your columns. Now, if you want to be able to see what they look like in 3D, of course, there's the columns that you've actually placed. And if you look at your columns, they're placed in the right direction. Okay. In other words, you've got the strong axes in this direction and everything looks good there. So therefore I'm going to go back to 114. So now I'm going to be placing the other ones. I do the same thing again. I go to columns. And now I'm going to change the type. I'm going to go to a W200 by 52. Now these are placed on the grids again. This is placed here, 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 and there. And that's where they intersect. I press a check sign. Now, excuse me. Now, you'll notice that for some reason I don't have it here, but sometimes it asks me if I want to rotate the column. Okay. Now, you'll notice that the column is not in the right direction. The strong axis is in the other direction. So if I pick on the column and I hit the space bar, oh, sorry, press escape, pick the column, the space bar will rotate the column. I don't know if you guys can see that. So in other words, once I pick the column and I hit the space bar will rotate the column by 90 degrees, okay? So the space bar is what you use to rotate the column. Sometimes it asks you if you want to rotate it, but sometimes it doesn't work. Anyways, you know, good old, but at least, so once I pick this column, I hit the space bar, it's rotated and it's rotated. So therefore now I got all my columns in the right orientation. In other words, this, for you guys to understand structural steel, when we're talking about a wide flange, okay? Okay, this here is called the strong axis and this is called the weak axis, and therefore you got to make sure that the flanges are in a certain orientation because, for example, if the wind is blowing this way, you want to make sure the strong axes are resisting that wind load and so on and so on. So that's why there's a very important in structural steel in which orientation we put the columns as well as the beams. Okay, has everybody got that okay? Do you want me to repeat it? Are we good? It's all good? Guys, please, you know, jump in and say yes and give me an idea because appreciate the thumbs up, but I can't really see them all because I could only see a limited amount of. Okay, so now that we've placed the columns on the periphery, we're going to go place the ones on the inside. Now the inside are HSSs, they're square HSSs, And they measure 152 by 152 by 9.5 millimeters. So the 152 is the actual overall size of the column. This is really an imperial that's been converted to metric. In other words, these are really 6 inches by 6 inches by 3/8 of an inch thick. And that's what this is. So the last dimension, the last number there represents the thickness of the wall of that HSS. So since I don't have any here, of course, I'm gonna have to go back to insert, okay, load family. And again, I'm gonna go up, okay. I'm at here, I'm back up to, you know, Canadian Institute of Steel Construction, and this is where I look for. Okay, so I'm looking for HSS that are square. Now, guys, here is, okay, this is because you have some HSS that are made with American steel and some HSS that are made with Canadian steel. Okay, so it all depends what you're using to design. So let's take the HSS made with Canadian steel. Okay, not the American steel, they're a little bit stronger. Okay, so we double click on that one. And of course, we're gonna go down and look for a 152 by 152 by 9.5. So they go down 152 by 152 by 1.5. We only have one of them, so therefore we don't have to worry about loading more than one, and I can press OK. Now that I've loaded my HSS, of course, I can now go place it in my model. So I go back to structures, go to columns. Now it's already there, and you want to place them at the grid lines. So you pick one grid line, doesn't matter which one you pick, hold the control button, pick another one, and then pick the other, the ones where the columns are placed there and there, okay? And now I think that's it. We only have 2, and therefore press the check mark, and now you've already placed your HSS, okay? Now all your beams and all your columns have been placed, because they all coincide. And of course, if you want to take a look at what it looks like in 3D, there's your HSSs. Of course, you don't have to worry about the orientation of the HSS because they're squared. Your beams are in the right orientation. Everything looks good. So far, so good. I'm going to go back to 114. Okay, so now once I've placed the columns, of course, the next thing I want to do is I want to go place all my beams. Okay, I'm going to go place all my beams. And I'm going to place the ones that are on the axis. So therefore, I have beams that are W200 by 24, W400 by 6. So I'm going to try to load them all at the same time. If I forget one, I'll just go back and load it again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to go back. Now I'm loading beams, okay? So beams are totally different. So when you're loading the beams, for example, I come here and I'm doing beams. And of course, if I come to the steel beams, okay, I only have 100. These are the only ones that are here, and none of them coincide with what I need. Therefore, I'm going to have to go load them. So therefore, I'm going to go load family. Okay. And of course, now I have to go back up. Okay. Be careful. Because you're going to go back to your Canada. Okay. And then you're going to go to structural framing. Framing is where you'll find the beams. Okay. And that's why they don't call it. They just call it structural framing. That's where you'll find the beams. And if you use the same shape as columns, you're going to have a problem with Revit, because Revit will not recognize that as a beam. So you go to structural framing. And of course, again, you go to steel. I'll go back so you guys can see where I went. Okay, so you go back to Canada, go down to structural framing. Structural framing, that's where you find the, okay. And then you go under steel, and you go under the CISC shapes. And now, of course, you're still going to just take the wide flange shape, okay? And of course, you get this menu popping up. Now, guys, if this menu is too short, remember, you can just, you can make it as big as you want, you make it as wide as you want, you know, whatever you need, okay? So now, so just play with it. So basically we're looking for, okay, well, the biggest one we have is a W530 by 74. excuse me, 530 by 74. So as I pan down, I'm going to try to pick them all at the same time so I can load them all at the same time. If not, I can come back one at a time. It wouldn't hurt. So I know I have a W530 by 74, 530 by 74. So there's one of them. I got one now. And I also have a W400 by 46. So as I go down 400, 410 by 46. So I'm going to go down and look for 410 by 46. So I hit the control button so I can pick at least more than one. And then I also have some W310 by 24. W310 by 24. Oh wait, I also have a W360 by 33. I might as well load it now. 360 by 33. 360 by 33. I have one of those, but that I'll put in later. And then I have also a W310 by 24. 310 by 24. Oh, there it is. Hit the control button, the control key, I should say. 310 by 24. And the last one I think we have is a W200 by 22. Might as well load it now. W200 by 22. So you can load them all at the same time just by holding the control key, okay? And you press OK. And now they're all, yes, override. Okay, so now we are ready to actually, put them into our model. So therefore I go back to structures and let's start with let's start from the top and work our way down. So we'll start with the W310 by 24. So therefore we're gonna go to beams, okay? And we're gonna go to steel beams. We're gonna start with the W310 by 24, the ones that are along the top. And of course, now I seem to be getting problems with this stupid program. I'm not getting to be placed on the axes. I just love this. Okay. Place on grid lines. Okay, so here I am, place on grid lines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a grid line. So I want all those to be placed on that grid line right there. And at the same time, I also want it to be placed on the grid line number D. So I'm going to hold the control button and go get D. And if I'm happy with the two axes that I picked, I simply press a check mark. And there you go. So you see the nice thing about Revit? Remember what we did in the very first assignment for steel structure, that we had to make sure that the steel beam did not touch the column that represents that this thing is simply supported. Well, Revit does it automatically for you. So that's the nice thing about, steel Revit. It automatically graphically puts in the correct it doesn't go from column to column. So now we've put in those beams. Is everybody good with that? Or do you want me to go back and do it again?
Sir, can you do it again?
Okay, so first of all, did you, who asked me to do it again? I'm sorry, I didn't see the name. Johara?
Me. Yeah.
Johara, were you able to download the beams?
Yeah.
Do you have those types in your file right now? Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna undo what I did, okay? Okay, so basically, Johara, you've got all the columns in?
Yeah.
Okay, so now,
I have a problem.
sorry?
When I load my family, it says some of all of the family file cannot be loaded.
Well, it depends. Well, Jimmy, I don't understand what's happening. In other words, just in that case, go and pick. First of all, are you making sure that you're under structural framing to loading the beams?
Yes.
That's one thing you have to make sure of. Like, you have to make sure that you go right into the right family to pick the type, because you can go into columns. You'll have the same thing, a W200 by 36, but all of a sudden Revit doesn't recognize that as a beam. It recognizes that as a column, and you won't be able to load it. Understand? So make sure that when you go to insert here, you go to insert and you go to load family, okay? make sure, if you, like, for example, make sure that you are, okay?
The structural framing.
In other words, structural framing, and then you can go into steel, because there's a big difference between structural framing, the beams and the columns for Rivet, okay? And then you can go to CSI, and then you can go to W shapes. And now I can go and pick them.
Okay, thank
So
you.
make sure you follow that path correctly, otherwise Rivet will not be able to take that and put it into your beams. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, so now, Johara, okay, so you've loaded your family, so you go to, you're on the Structures tab. Okay, Johara, Structures tab, is that good? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so go to Beams and fly out your menu. Go where you have your steel beams, CSS, okay, and go get a W310 by 24. Click on that. Okay, that's what you should see up here. And here it says place on grid lines. See here? Do you have this in your ribbon?
Yes, sir.
So click on there. Place, okay. I should have, okay. Place on grid lines. Then once you do that, I'm going to click this on, okay? Then I'm going to pick one grid line here, hold the key, control key, so I can pick more than one, okay? Now, guys, I think I mentioned this before again, okay? If all of a sudden you're picking something, okay? Sorry. Okay. Okay, now I'm gonna do this over, anyways, W310 by 21. Structures, beams. Beam placement on grid lines. 1 and 2. I think I mentioned this before, okay? Now, if, guys, I just want to show you something. Let's say you're picking something with, you pick some, excuse me, let me get out of this. Let's say I'm picking the B, I'm picking the B, and then all of a sudden, I pick a grid line that I want, but I don't want to have to start all over again, okay? If I want to remove something that I've picked, hit the shift button and then pick the thing and it's going to remove it. So shift removes, control adds, okay? So shift, you hit the shift button or the shift key, it removes what you picked. So sometimes you can pick a whole bunch of things and you say, oh, I don't want this one. So you just leave everything that you picked there and you hit the shift key and it will remove, it's like removing what you've picked, okay? So keep that in mind with Rivet. So control adds to the elements that you're picking and shift removes the elements that you're picking. Okay, so now we've got those in. Now we need to go put the ones here on axis 1 and axis 5, and those are all the same size, the W10s by, W410 by 46. So I will go to beams, save project, of course. Oh, you guys still there?
Yeah.
For some reason, I lost the, I lost my screen. Today I'm having a bad hair day with this thing. So, okay, hold on. Okay, there we go. The thing popped up on me. Anyways, okay, so now we're ready to put the beams along axis 1 and along axis 5. So let's go to beams, okay? I'm gonna change the beam to the type that I want to put in. And according to the drawing, I'm putting in a W410 by 46. Of course, I want to place them on the grid. So I'm going to place here, hit the control there, press the finish, and now I've installed those. So it's relatively fast, okay? Then on the inside, they're all the same size. They're all W530s by 74. So I go back to, I'm going to change the type to a W530 by 74. That's what I'm going to put on. And of course, I'm going to place them on the grid here on grid number 2. Hold the control key, grid number 3, grid number 4, press the finish. And I put in those. Now, I'm not going to put in the opening right now. I'm going to put in the joists. Okay, I'm going to be putting in the joists. And then after I put in the joists, I will delete one and I will put in those beams. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put in the joists. And therefore, I need to go and download where those joists are. Okay, so far I've got my columns, and of course, if you want to see what everything looks like up to now, you always go to your 3D view. So there you go. You got your beams, okay, and you've got your columns. Everything is starting to look good. So I go back to level 114, okay. And of course, now I'm going to put in those joists. So therefore, I'm going to have to load those joists, and those joists happen to be 24LH10, 24LH10. So you're going to go to, of course, you're going to go to the insert. I'm going to take my time, make sure everybody's on the insert tab. Go to load family. Okay. Now, make sure you are, okay, make sure you're in Canada. Okay, the ones that don't have Canada, well, unfortunately, you're going to have to pick something else, and I'll help you. Okay, so we're in Canada. Yeah, we're in Canada, and of course, we're into structural framing. And we're into steel, okay? And now you want to go to the MLH series, MLH series. These are series with bar joists. And you're going to look for a 24LH10. So here, this is 24 inches deep, okay? And I think it tells you what the weight is, okay? So that's the ones that you're using. So you press OK. You want me to go back? Is everybody okay with this? And now I've loaded it's being loaded into my file. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to structures, but this time I'm going to go use the beam system. Okay. So that's what I'm going to use to put my joists. In other words, the program is going to recognize it as a system, and therefore that's what I'm going to be using to place my joists. Automatic beam system here. Okay, now okay. Where's the type? Now if I go and I click here, the program automatically puts it all the way across. And if I want to go look at it in 3D, there you go. The nice thing about the program, okay? Now, of course, I'm going to go back to 114. I'm going to continue. Oops, sorry. I should have done them all at the same time, then down to my 3D view, okay? Okay, so let me start over, okay? So now, like I said, I should have done them all at the same time, so I'm going to go to my beam system. Where's my, okay, structures. Automatic. And of course, here's one. Here's another. And here's another. And there you go. So that's the nice thing about Revit. You see the advantage, okay, that it does it right away. And then if you go look at your 3D view, there's all your open web steel joists. Okay, they look pretty good. I don't know about you guys, but I find that when it comes to steel structures, Revit has its big advantage over AutoCAD. Okay, and now I'm going to go back to 114. Okay, now the only thing I'm going to be left to do here, okay, is right here. I'm going to be modifying this because I have a beam there. Okay, and I have to make the opening. And of course, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here. I'm going to pick this one. Okay, I'm going to open it. Make sure you open it. Okay, you unpin it, and then you can delete it. And then do the same thing with the next one. Unpin it. If you don't unpin it, you won't be able to delete it. You delete it. So now I got rid of those two that were there. Okay, and now I'm going to put the framing that I have. Okay, that I need to do to make that opening. So therefore, I'm going to go and zoom in a bit. Is everybody okay with that? You have to unpin it and then you can delete it. Keep that in mind, okay? Now, I'm going to put in a beam in here, okay? And then I'm going to put the other beam in here, and then I'm going to put the other beam in there. So therefore, I'm going to go and put in a beam. Now, that beam is going to be a W360 by 33. That's why I went to pick it, okay? And of course, I'm going to simply sketch where it's supposed to be. Now, if I start from here and I go up, and I want it at 12 feet away, or I want it to be in line, yeah, 12 feet, so I'm going to put 12. And of course, I want it to go up to here. And of course, and there you go. So now that beam is in, okay? So that's the W360 by 33. And now here I've got a W200 by 22. So I'm going to go change this. The W200 by 22. And of course, I'm going to be putting it at halfway across. So I'm going to be putting it at 10 feet. And I'm going to go up. And escape. And now, of course, I'll put the last one in, okay, which is from here to here and escape. So there, now I've got all my beams in, okay? So now the nice thing about Revit, if you put in the right beam sizes and everything else, and you want to start annotating, okay, then you simply go to annotate. Okay, and if you've done it all correctly, and if you hit tag all, let me just make sure that's what I want to do right now. Do tag all, and you're going to go and pick. Tell them what you want to pick. So you want to pick your structural. You want your structural columns. And you want to pick your structural, where's the structural framing? Structural columns. Does anybody see the structural framing anywhere?
It's
Yeah, it
lower.
was-
You were right on it. Look right there.
Right here?
Underneath. Almost around the bottom.
Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, thank you for, So you pick what you want. In other words, you want the column, you want all the structural framings, okay? You say apply. And there you go. Okay. Isn't that nice? What do you think, guys? Is that fast?
Super
Now,
fast.
pardon?
Super fast.
Super fast, okay? So that's what's nice about, that's what's nice about Revit. Now, of course, what you're gonna have to do is, okay, see here, this is not very good. So either you're gonna have to decide to move this over, okay? Like what, you can either move this over or you can do some line work, but this is not very good, okay? Now I can show you like what I prefer to do is that if I can't move it over, whatever, okay? What I prefer to do in this case is simply this. I'm going to sort of like do some line work here. And then this is what I'm gonna expect you guys to do. And then of course you put in the dimensions and all that, but I'm gonna just show you one line work, okay? Like for example, like this is not very good because when you plot this, this should not be intersecting here. So what you do here very simply is you go to, you go to modify and you go to line work, okay? And of course I can make this line invisible, okay? It's gone. And of course I'm gonna do it for, okay? So I'm gonna do it for one and then you guys can do for all the other ones. So now here's the line work here. Now of course what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this one here also and do the line work on this one, okay? So once I've done that, I made them invisible, then I go back to annotate. I'm ready to draw a detail line. Make sure you're on line here. And of course, you start from, understand? From here. And you just go as close as, and then that's it. Fair enough. And of course, what you can do is, okay, you can you can copy these. For example, I can pick this line here now, and I can say copy, okay. And of course, I want multiples, okay. And I'm going to take, I can take this endpoint here and bring it down to that endpoint there. And bring it down to that endpoint there. And I can simply copy my, understand? So once I've drawn, I can copy them. And of course, I could, since this one has the same size as that one, I can come in here and go back to modify. I should have done this all at the same time. I do some line work and I can, understand, delete this line, make that line invisible, make that line invisible, make that line invisible. And then after that, what I can do is I can tell the program, hit this, hold the control key, hit that, hold the control key, hit that. And I'm going to say copy. And then of course, I'm going to take a point that I can always understand. I can take here, this point here, and go to, and there you go. And of course, now that's all it. And of course, now these are exactly the same. So therefore, once I modify these, okay. Now this one here, you can either try to rotate the thing, or what you can do is just do some line work. In other words, I can go back and do some line work here. Okay, so I'm going to make, sorry. Okay, invisible. I'm going to just do it for one, and then of course. In this case here, once I do it for here, I can just copy, and I'm going to get rid of this one here because I'm going to copy after, get rid of this one, get rid of that one, and so on. And I think that's the only two that I need to do. Oh, I got some more here. So I'm going to get rid of that one and that one. And then after that, I just decide to do a detail line, go back to annotate, detail line, of course, start from this endpoint here. Draw it, like make it like whatever, as long as it doesn't touch. Then press escape. You're going to stay in the command, go over, go there. And of course, and if you're happy with that, then you simply gonna pick the two of them, pick one, hold the control key, pick the other, say copy. And of course, you want to copy multiples and pick something that you can always, like this endpoint, if you're happy with it. And then of course you go to this endpoint, you go to that endpoint. And you go to that endpoint and so on. And of course you can go to the next endpoint and the next endpoint, and there you go. So this way it looks the same all over, okay? And that's basically it. So so you guys, this assignment, okay, like I said, you should clean up these ones here, okay? Then after that, of course, like if you find that this is too far, of course, you can click on it. Okay, you can move it down a bit. If you find it's too far, move it in a bit. And then after that, put in the dimensions. Okay. In other words, you can use a line. You go from there to there, and that's going to put in that dimension there. And like I said, what I like about Revit, it trims a line so it doesn't intersect with the text. And then after that, you do the same thing. You go annotate, from there to there, and of course, from there, from there to there. And then, so you dimension everything, clean it up. Then as far as what you should do is at this point here, once you've cleaned it all up, that's pretty much it. The only thing that you have left to do is down here, you can put in that top of steel. In other words, you're going to go to text, put some text in there. Now, when you drag on your sheet, if you wanted to say floor plan second story, of course, you should rename level 14 to rename that to floor plan. This way, when you drag on your sheet, that's what's going to be shown as a name. Second story. And that, oops, sorry, I should have.
Sir?
Yeah.
So this assignment is for next week, correct?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have very much left to do, yeah. In other words, if you can finish it today, I wanted you guys to finish it today and send it to me today. Okay?
Wow.
Why?
Because the thing is that I went to the washroom for like 6 minutes and I see all this and I was like, sheesh. So I was like hoping I'm just gonna like catch up with the video.
Well, okay, well, like I said, I can go back and do it again. Virgil, I don't care.
Oh, there's no worries. I'll just look at the video.
Okay, like I'm telling you, it's not very complicated. Okay, like I said, this here is not placed very well. I don't know why. I didn't do this very well, so I'm gonna have to delete this. Anyways, guys, be careful. I like to be as accurate as possible. Let me delete that. Delete that. Let's go back. Anyways, so guys, I will expect you to, okay, so I will expect you to clean up like all these areas here, put in the dimensions, and then put in the text. And like I said, now when you're gonna go plot it on the C-size sheet, okay? It shouldn't be a problem. So if you remember how to do your sheets, it shouldn't be a problem. So you go down here, we go to sheets. I'm gonna just drag it right now to show you that it shouldn't be a problem. It should fit. So let me just go to plot. Where's the sheet? Oh yeah, here. Okay, so I'm going to have a new sheet. Okay, and you should have these. I don't know if you have these loaded into your family, but it should be a C-size sheet. And of course, like here, you can call this. You can rename this to assignment number 7, or this is number 9. What am I doing? This is S4, and this is whatever you want to call it, assignment number 9. Ooh, anyways, like I don't care. You just do it correctly, okay? And of course, now you're ready to go and find the view you want to drag onto the sheet. So you go back to second floor plan typical. You just drag it in. Okay, place it as much as where you want it to go. It should fit, no problem. There you go. And if you want to move it, you can still move it over a bit. And of course, this here is, okay, but you can do this at the end. You should do this at the end. And of course, you can now take this and move it where you want. And of course, if you go back to this one here, We don't need this anymore, so I can hide this in the view. If I go back to my sheet, that should be gone. And of course, here I can annotate. I can annotate that. Then I can move it wherever I want. So here, the annotation. I do the annotation. I can put top of steel. Top of steel. Elevation. You know what I'm talking about. Elevation 1114 feet dash 0 inches. And if you okay, and like I said, you can move this wherever you want. Now, guys, remember, if you don't like, if you want to make this thing, the typing bigger here, this is 2.5. You can come in here, you can make it as big as you want. Okay. So okay, so you can modify the text by simply clicking on the text and then coming in here. So, okay, so if you want to make the text bigger, yes, okay, so if you want to make the text bigger, you simply, you pick the text that you want. Yes, okay. So if you want to make the text bigger, like I said, you can make it 2.5, 3.55, and if you don't, you can actually go and edit type, okay? And of course, the nice thing about this is that that's what Revit stands for, revise instantly. Everything that I did on this view, of course, automatically shows up on this view, okay? So, of course. Oh, I made a mistake here. I made this too short and now I'm having a problem. So be careful about that. That's one thing about Revit. Once you screw this thing, it's almost as if it doesn't allow you to, hopefully. Yeah, so I shouldn't have done that. Anyways, I screwed that up. Don't screw it up like I did, okay? And basically, there you have it, okay? So it shouldn't take you very long to do, okay? If there's any questions, I'm gonna stop the video so this way I can send it. Well, it's gonna take a while. But Virgil, if you want, I can do it all over again. Virgil?
Yeah.
I could, first of all, do you have all this stuff in? Like are all your beams and your framing in?
I mean, I only have the beams, but sir, there's absolutely no worries. Like, I'll just.
You don't have these frames in. You don't have the open web steel joist. Is that it?
No, I was. It's actually like after Joara's question, I left, and then I saw that. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna catch up with the video.
Okay, but quite a bit, right?
Yeah,
6
it's
minutes.
It's 6 minutes, and boom, it's so fast.
I know, and that's why I say when it comes to steel structures, I find there's a big plus when it comes to steel structures. You understand? But like I said, guys, I want you to clean up. I'm going to be looking for this. I want you to clean up all these places where the members go over the text. Clean that up, and you know it's not a big assignment. And I'm sure you guys are all going to get perfect on it if you do it well. If I see you send it to me like this, I will mark that wrong, and I will be sent. So what I'm going to do for you, I'm going to delete the sheet. Delete. I'm going to start all over. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, okay. So where do you want me to start from? You want me to the framing? That's what you don't have, right?
Sir,
No.
it's don't worry. Like, you already did your class. There's
Virgil, don't worry. Like, it's gonna, maybe other people are having the same problem and nobody's like, you're the one that's brave enough to tell me to start over. I don't mind starting over, Virgil. You understand? What I'm gonna do is I'll start over. It's only gonna take me, I have until 5 o'clock with you guys. So Virgil, it would be a pleasure for me to do it over. How's that? Okay.
all right, if you insist, sir.
Look, I'm just gonna undo until you tell me where you're at. I'm gonna undo what I have here. Okay, undo. You tell me at what point what you have, because.
Well, I only have my column, like a few columns in. That's it.
So you have no beams whatsoever?
Nope.
Did you load your beams?
Yeah. I have the libraries and everything.
Okay,
But
so you've got the
that-
beams loaded into your file. That's okay.
yeah, that's it. That's about it.
I wonder if it's easier for me simply to delete everything. And so all you have is a column right now, right? Is that it? All your
Yeah,
columns?
a few
Okay.
columns. Yeah.
Okay, so here you go. So why don't I just, I'm going to delete everything except for the columns. How's that? You have no beams whatsoever in?
No, I only have like the vertical ones.
Yeah, you're talking about, you have these in?
No, I only have like the W beams on it.
Okay, I know it. Look, I'll just delete everything. Don't worry about it.
W columns on it. Sorry.
Oh, I better not do this. I'm going to delete my, okay, now this is going to be a little trickier to do. If I do that, I'm going to, oh yeah, see, I just deleted all my axes. Oh, undo. I can't do it that way. I can't do it by
Again,
cross.
like
Okay.
you really don't have to go through this trouble for me.
Oh, don't worry. I'm almost there, I think. I'm almost there. Don't worry about it. Okay, I think. So tell me when to stop. Are we there?
Not even like I only had like the vertical ones on,
No, but you
and
have
those
all I
were
have now. You have,
200 by how much?
you have your columns in?
Yeah, a few ones, but not all of them.
Which ones don't you have in?
The middle ones and I believe the C ones on the number 4.
Well, like Virgil, when you want to refer to a column, you just,
Wait.
for example, if I'm talking about this column here, you call this B1. So I know what you're talking about. If you want to talk about this column here, you call this C4. Okay, so that's how you talk about columns. In other words, you take the two axes where the columns intersect, and that's the name of the column. Okay, so right now you're saying that all the columns on axis 1, A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, you got them all in. Is that it?
Yeah, actually the W200 by 21, is that correct?
It's supposed to be W200 by 31.
31. Yeah, see, I made a mistake there. So I have to load that one.
So load that one because I'm telling you, if you load the right type, you'll see the annotation gets done bang in one shot. That's why you were surprised. So make sure you,
200
okay.
Okay.
Okay, so you can go back and go back and load a W200 by 21, but make sure you go to columns, otherwise it won't work. So the only two columns you have to load is a W200 by 31 and a W200 by 52. Do you have those two loaded into your file?
You said 200 by 52?
Yeah, that's the other one.
200 by 52. I'm looking for it.
You don't have the assignment in front of you to see what the columns are?
Yeah, actually I do.
Yeah, that's where you should get the information from.
200 by 52.
Because now, if you want, so I'm going to start over as if okay? I'm just going to do, here you go. They're all gone. My whole structure is gone, Virgil.
That's where pretty much I am in this case because I made a mistake on the columns.
Okay,
Right.
so here you are. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I just feel bad because like everybody's here and
Well, everybody's now working. Everybody should be working right now, finalizing their project. So they like whatever it is, like they're going to need about 10 to 15 minutes to clean up their stuff a bit. They have a bit of line work to do, and then they're done, and they're going to send me their file today. Understand? They're going to send me their PDF today. So, okay, are we ready to go?
200 by, yeah, I got it. 200 by 51 and 200 by 32.
No,
52 and 31. Yeah.
The columns that we have is W200 by 31 and W200 by 52. You got those, right?
Correct.
Okay, so we go to structures, go to columns, W200 by we'll do the ones along axis A, W200 by 31, okay? Right? And you're gonna tell the program at the grid lines, okay? And of course, pick A, hold, then go down, hold the control key, pick B, D. Those are the only two axes that have those columns. And press the finish sign, the green check mark.
It says no columns were added to this document during this operation.
I know, I don't know why. On the grid lines, A. Okay.
I get the same message as you.
Okay, I'm not sure. I have to go see if I everything is gone. Okay. So let's go see where the glitch is. How's that? I'm at 114, that's okay.
Okay, working plane.
I'm at 114, and now columns. Vertical columns, that's what I want. That's what I want, and I want them to be on the grid lines. On the grid line. So I have one here, right? I have one here, right? You know why nothing showed up?
Why?
Because we have to tell it where the other axes are. So we have one here, we have one here, we have one here, we have one here, and we have one there. In other words, the program has to know where the two axes intersect. Now, if you press the finish sign, there's your columns.
Cool. Nice.
Cool, huh?
Yep.
So in other words, you have to show which two axes intersect, and the program will know where to put it in your model. Okay, so that's for that one. Okay, now let's go back and let's do the other ones, like here. So go back, go to columns, and now change it to a W200 by 52. 200 by 52. Again, on the grid line. So now you're going to pick B. Hold the control key. You're going to pick C, and then you're going to pick 1, and then you're going to pick 5. Fair enough?
Yep.
So where all those axes intersect, the program will place a column. Finished. Good enough?
Yep.
Now, let's go back and do have you loaded the HSS?
Nope.
So you have to go back and load the HSS. Otherwise, you won't have it. You won't have that type in your family.
Okay, so I'm doing that right now.
So in other words, go to, you understand, go to the, go to load family, go to Canada.
HSS square?
Yeah, in other words, here, load family, okay? I just want to make sure that I'm in the right one, okay? Because now you're going to do structural columns. Make sure you go on the structural columns and not framing, okay? And then you're going to go under steel, and you're going to go to CSI. These are the shapes, and then HSS square, and take the Canadian one. These, the
CSA. Okay, yeah. Gotcha.
That's the Canadian one, the Canadian Standards Association. Double click on that, and go find a W152 by 9.6. There you go. Okay.
152 by 9.6.
You see it? 152 by 152 by 9.5. So in other words, this column measures 6 inches by 6 inches, and the wall thickness is 3/8 of an inch.
Is there any one other that to take, or yeah? Let me check.
That's the only one. So therefore, you can press OK. I'm not going to do it because it's going to OK. Press OK, and that should be loaded. Okay. So now you're going to go load the HSS. Oh, it's true. I got to load mine because I deleted it. Sorry, I undid. So I have to go back. I should have loaded it. Sorry. Give me a
All good.
second. Just give me a second. It won't take me very long to do it. HSS square. I should have loaded it myself because I thought I had already loaded and I realized I deleted everything. There you go. Okay, for some reason. Okay, let me just make sure I'm in. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm in the right structural columns because there's a big difference between structural columns, CSI. Anyways, where are we? HSS,
Right
this
there,
is
yeah.
the one we want. And here we go. Okay. Now, so now I'm going to go to structures, columns, and I should have my HSS here, right? So make sure you're, Virgil, make sure you picked your HSS, right?
Yep.
And then of course, now this program today is really acting up because it's not telling me to place on the, understand? I can't, I'm looking for place on the grid lines here and it's not giving it to me.
Yeah, I see that.
You see? So
Maybe eject, yeah. Like escape.
I know that. And that's why this program, I'm telling you, it has a lot of defects, understand? And unfortunately, I'm stuck with it, and so are you. But let me go back to structures. Okay, structures, columns, HSS, place on grid lines. I got it back. You see?
That's weird.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
So I picked that one, hold the control key, pick that one, pick that one, pick that one, pick that one, and press O finish, and we should, there we go. So now you've got all your columns in, right?
Yep. So now to load the beams.
Now I got to go back and load the beam. So let's go and load the beam. So let's go to Insert, go to the Insert tab, Load Families. Now, Virgil, be careful. Okay, you got to go back and make sure you're into structural framing, not, okay?
Yep.
Otherwise, and that's what it recognizes as the beam and type and not column type, even though they're both like W200 by whatever, okay? So make sure
Yeah.
you're under structural framing, of course, steel and CSI shaped. And now we're gonna go to wide flange shapes.
Wide flange.
Don't take the wide flange, it's the third from the bottom, okay?
Yeah.
Now, of course, like we might as well load them all at the same time. So the biggest one I see here is a W530 by 74. So I'm going to go down until I see a 530 by 74.
Yeah.
530 by 70. Did you find yours?
Yeah.
530. Okay, so there's one. Now everything else, you hold the control key. Huh? If you want to keep adding them.
I have to hold that throughout the, okay.
Look, if I pick this one, it goes away. You see?
Right.
So if you want to hold that one, you have to hold the control key if you want to pick 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of them. Okay, so you have to hold the control to keep adding to your selection.
Yep.
Okay, so we got that one. Then after that, what do we have? We have some W410 by 46, W410 by 46, W410 by 46. So here's the control key. And what else do we have? We have some W310 by 24, or we also have a 360 by 33. So we might as well pick that one up as we're going down. I'm going by the sizes, so I don't skip one. W360 by 33, hold the control key.
360 by 33.
Yeah, we need that one. We also have some W310 by 24, 310 by 24. So here's a 310, hold the control key, 310 by 24. And the last one, I believe, is a W200 by 22. That's the smallest one.
200 by
Anyways,
20.
look, if we forget one, Virgil, all you have to do is come back and load it, okay?
200 by 22, correct?
Yeah, that's the smallest one, okay? And I think we've got them all. But if I forgot one, I don't care, okay?
All right.
So now, let's start by loading the ones on axes A and D, right? So let's go to structures.
That'd be 310 by 24.
Yeah, in other words, make sure you pick a W, the steel
So
beam,
We go
310.
on beam, right? Okay.
Yeah, make sure you go to beam because that's where your types have been actually loaded into
Then
that
it says
family.
pick a plane.
310 by 24, if you have that, right?
Actually, it says to me pick a plane.
Okay,
Or pick a line.
so just pick, fly out the menu and pick level 114. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Let's see.
Okay, so that's where you're placing them. You understand?
Yeah.
So now you're going to place them on the grid again, right? And therefore you're going to place it on that grid. Hold the control button, go down, place it on that grid, and of course those are the only two grids where they're placed. Press the check sign, and there they go. Nice. Do we have the same result?
Yep. Yep.
Now let's place the ones that are vertical. Let's start with the ones on the outside. Let's go and place just change this to a W 410 by 46.
Yep.
And of course on the grids again. Okay, so make sure you put on the grid, right? So hold that one, hold the control key.
Number 5, I believe.
And number 5, that's it, okay? And you press finish, and there you go. And then we'll put the ones on the inside. So those are gonna, again,
74.
change. Those are 530 by 74. On the grid, there, and there. And there you go, okay? So now we've placed the columns, we've placed the beams. Hit your 3D view and go take a look at it so you can understand. See?
Nice.
Nice, right?
Now I see why it was so fast.
Right, now you know why it's so fast. Now let's go back. Well, I'll show you how how fast they're gonna be, even faster, okay? So now we're gonna have to go load those joists, okay?
Okay,
So-
it's in thrust. Okay.
So you're gonna go back to, you're gonna go back to the insert tab, you're gonna go back to load family, right?
Then on this one, it's the same.
Well, like for example, here, excuse me. I just wanna make sure, no, you gotta go up, okay? Go up a menu, you understand? You're no longer in the CSI shapes, okay? But first of all, you're at the, excuse me, let me see, what are they? They're 24LH, so it's the LH bar series, that's the one you want.
See, I don't have that. I'm
You
gonna
don't
have
have-
to. Yeah,
you
I'm
don't
gonna go
have-
to Autodesk quick. That's where I loaded.
Well, if you had the Canadian one, okay, let's go back.
I did download the Canadian one.
Okay, so you should have it. So let's go back, make sure that you're under structural framing. Are you there? Under Canada, are you under structural framing?
Canada structural framing, yes.
So click
Then
on
where
that.
it's steel, flat
Steel.
bars, round bars, square bars. That's the only thing I see. Okay, I go on steel.
Well, you have to go on
And yeah.
steel. Okay,
Yeah. So
right
I go on
underneath.
steel and I
Yeah,
see GIS.
and then underneath, don't you have these?
Nope.
Oh, you don't have those. That's part of your library.
So that's part of my library, you say? Or did I have to load the FAM templates at the same time?
You have to load. You have to go and load it. You understand? So
Mm.
you don't have any of these in your library.
None of them. Wait, so when we went to like load the libraries on Autodesk Knowledge Network, did we load the FAM templates and then we loaded the libraries? Because one is 8 megabytes and the other one's 54 megabytes.
Well, the one that I loaded for the US, believe it or not, was 1.2 gigabytes.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, it's big. The US Imperial family is 1.2 gigabytes.
Yes.
So you don't have this, right?
No, it does. I mean, in.
Okay, so hold on a second. Why don't I do something? Okay.
Oh yeah, I see it. The 1.3 gigabyte Imperial. So you want me to download the metric?
No, like this is under the Canadian one. Don't go download the US. Go download the Canadian one. Understand?
Okay. The Canadian one only allows me to download the 54 megabytes.
The
I guess I
50.
should download the US one in metric, and that's it.
Yeah, and then what I'll probably do is I'll find you one. I'll find you an equivalent in the US metric one, and then you can use that one. It won't
It
make a
should take
difference.
like not even 4 minutes to download because my internet is crazy fast.
Okay. Well, all I'm saying is that so you don't have these shapes then.
Nope. All right, so I'm gonna download them right now. The US empirical metric.
Okay. Well, maybe let me do something else. Okay. Let me just. Okay. Hold on a second. Okay. Okay.
I mean, I still have to download them because I actually found a job on designing for this
Okay.
winter, so might be interesting.
Okay. So you found a job to do some drafting.
Yeah, and also I'm gonna be working like in the field, like it's like a hybrid. He wants me to work in the field and he wants me to like do the designing on after January.
Okay. Well, that's good. Okay. Well, look, like I said, once like all I'm saying is that once you're there, okay. Like I'm sorry that you don't have this library. What I should have done is I should have loaded that right away when I sent you this, this this file. I should have been loaded so this way you guys would all have that information. I apologize for that.
It's all good, sir.
Okay, anyway, so now look, once you've downloaded, okay, once you've downloaded the right family, okay, Virgil, and you're ready to do this, the framing here, okay, so you go back to structures, okay, and see where it says beam systems.
Yep.
Okay, so that's what you're actually doing, and okay, and what you're gonna do is you're going to select automatic beam system,
Yep.
okay, and then after that, you pick the bay that you want it in, and it's going to bang, put them in all at the same time. You see?
Okay, I see.
Very nice, huh?
Yeah, amazing. Wait, don't you have to like set up some the specific trust? No?
Well, yeah, I've already picked mine. I downloaded it. You understand?
Oh, okay.
So that's why it went to get it. You understand? And then, like, if you look, if I go to my 3D view, see, I've already downloaded the one that we have. You understand?
And all of them, I mean, well, let me see.
You see? So I've already downloaded. That's why it
Okay,
puts
yeah.
them in.
All of them all the same. Okay.
Yeah, they're all the same. You understand? Because they're all approximately the same span, and therefore it's much cheaper to fabricate everything the same than to have maybe slightly different because one is 24-foot span, the other one's a 25-foot span. You see?
Oh, beside the one that is W200 by 22 on the bottom side. Can we just like you can show me how to do that, or we really need the beam bay?
Well, I mean, like what like okay, so like once you like in other words, what like when you want to put these in, okay, like you can put them in individually if you want, but that's gonna take you forever, right? Now
Right.
with this, once you go to beam system here, okay, this is what's gonna pop up. You can either sketch the system or you can use automatic, and therefore once you pick automatic and you show where that bay is, like I can't do it now because I already have them in, it's automatically gonna put them in every one of that bay. In other words, it's gonna go from one end to the other and put them in and space them all evenly throughout the whole, from one end to the other.
Mm.
You like that? And
Yeah,
then,
I actually appreciate that.
okay,
a
so
lot.
now, so that's where we're at. And then what I basically said is that, okay, then you're gonna have to come and modify here, you understand? Because these are not joists, these are beams. So what you're gonna have to do is like, you have to click on this, but in order for you to delete this after, you're gonna have to unpin it. If you don't unpin it, you won't be able to delete it.
Okay.
So even this one, because this is pinned with the rest of the system, you understand? If I don't unpin it, I cannot delete it.
Okay.
Now, once I deleted that, then I can go and put in those beams in here. You sound like I can go and put in the beam. Like for example, I can go and put in, like once you're gonna do this, once you get the family, so this beam here is a W360, you understand?
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, it goes from here to there, okay? So that's the beam, and then you have the other beam, and the other beam is gonna be a W200 by 22. W200 by 22. And of course, you want to go from you want to go over by 10 feet. 10 feet. I want to put 10 feet. And you want to go here to 12 feet. That's good. And then after that, you want to put in the last one from here to there. And now you got all your beams in, okay? So then once all that is done, you're ready to annotate, right?
Yep.
So when you're ready to annotate, and since you put in everything with the right type, you go to annotate, okay? And if you want to do it all in one shot, you say tag all.
Okay.
Okay, and then you pick what you want to tag. So what we want to tag here is structural columns. And then, thank God, like I found it. And then the structural framing. Structural framing, see? So you tell what you want to tag, right? So that's what you want to tag, you press apply. And bang, everything gets tagged at the same time.
Wow, so much better than AutoCAD.
It is, I'm telling you, when it comes to steel, and then what I told everybody is that you have to go and do some little line work because you want to clean this up, okay? So just like we did before, like you go to, you go to modify, and then you do some line work. In other words, you make this one invisible, and then you redraw it and make sure it doesn't touch the line, understand?
Yes, yes.
So that's it. And